So, hello my friends. We are going to start with the conference here again in the Swedish congregation in Tallinn in St. Michael's Church. We have a very nice evening here in the courtyard and we have a very nice guest from a neighboring country, from the Russian Federation and from the Ingeri Lutheran Church that is in the Russian Federation. This is Miss Merja Kramsu, Secretary in Foreign Relations. Hello.
Hello.
It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And we have with Patrick Göransson, the congregation priest, some time with you here now. We can drink coffee and ask questions. We have in mind to ask about the different things about your church in Ingeri,
yeah,
and about the reforms that you have maybe gone through in 30 years, and the results of these reforms in the church, and your opinion about them. And of course, we will start with the history of your church. So, can you please start from somewhere, from the Aiden?
Well, this Ingerian church is quite old church, so it's the history comes to this Queen Ingrid and so on. 1700 and so on, but then if we come a little bit closer to our times, we must come to 1018 and so on, when there were quite many congregations and quite many villages around St. Petersburg where they spoke Finnish language, and there was this Ingerian land, if we speak about the history of this geography, or how do you say it. So it has been historically Finnish speaking mostly, and the people were Lutherans. So it was different than those places which always have been Orthodox places. And so Ingerian church then during the Soviet Union, it was of course put down, and most of the priests and diakons, they were sent to camps, and of course the end of them was not so nice. 2 pastors came alive from the camps, and other one died soon after that. After the people could come back to Karelia after Stalin died, and one of them was killed in Petrozavodsk. That is Petroskoi in Finnish, when the big black car just drove over him, and nobody saw anything, nobody knew anything. And Sulo Vasseli and Paavo Haimi were the names of these 2 pastors who survived. But then there were quite many ladies who started to preach, started to baptize, and so on. And the first congregation was established in Petrozavodsk. I don't remember the date, but I think it was in 1960s. And then after that, or in the beginning of 70s, after that in Pushkin near St. Petersburg. So there were those 2 congregations, and it's quite many stories about those congregations, especially in Petrozavodsk, and how it was possible to build a Lutheran congregation in Soviet Union in Petrozavodsk in those days. And I myself see so that because the Finnish Lutheran Church had a very good bishop, Simojoki, very famous one, Archbishop Simojoki. He started to have the theological discussions with the Russian Orthodox Church, and that was of course revolutionary 50 years ago. And I think it's not only I think, I know that during those discussions they discussed also the position of the Lutherans in Russian, especially the Finnish-speaking Lutherans, because without the permission of the Russian Orthodox Church, of course, it could have not been possible to build that Petrozavodsk congregation. And then it was Pushkin. And how it was possible? I mean, how was this congregations organized? They were under the Estonian Lutheran Church, because it was the Soviet Union. So, and the pastors from Estonian Church came there to help. Like Paul Saar was very famous. They took their little Lada cars and drove all the way from Tallinn to St. Petersburg. And as you know, there was no border, just no visa, no passport. It was the Russian Federation, and also Pushkin. And Pushkin and Petroskoy or Petrozavodsk, they are the mother congregations for the Ingerian Church. And then the freedom came during Mikhail Gorbatsov's time, glasnost. So it was quite easy to establish the church again, to lift the church again, because it was never closed, in fact. Stalin never closed the church. He only made it impossible for them to work. But there was no paper that this church is, you know, doesn't exist anymore. And during Stalin's times, as you know, plenty of people were deported to Siberia, to Kazakhstan, and so on. And they kept their Lutheran faith there. So it was quite, in fact, easy to start the church life again. And now the Ingerian Church has deaneries, and they are Karelian deanery, Northern deanery, Southern deanery, Moscow deanery, Siberian deanery, and Ural deanery, and I think and Volga deanery. So as you know, Russia is a very big country. So if you are the area dean of Siberia, you have quite big area for yourself. Of course, the congregations are not so big. The main congregations are in St. Petersburg and in Karelia, and they are growing. Especially St. Petersburg, this St. Anna church is growing, and St. Mary church, St. Maria or St. Mary, I don't know how to say it in English, St. Mary maybe is the better. So they are growing. The problem are the little congregations in the countryside. But that's church sociology everywhere, because people want to move to the big cities and so on. And we try so that the people could find their own congregations also in the big cities. Of course, we have got plenty of help from Finland. The Finnish church is our main friend, how to say it, partner. And we are also having relations with the American Lutheran churches, 2 of them. And of course, with plenty of organizations, church unions, or how do you call them, LWF, Lutheran Federation, and also European, the Conference of the European Churches, the Conference of Barents Region, how do you say it, and then also some mission organizations from Sweden and Norway. I hope I didn't forget nobody. And because of we have and we are member of International Council, which is a council of more how do you say it, conservative churches, and we are also the member of LWF. So this makes my work very interesting. And I came to this Ingerian church to work in 1998 because then there was secretary Birgitta who left Russia and went to Finland to study for a while, and I was working in her place. I promised 3 months because I thought, okay, if everything will be bad, 3 months is not so big time, so I can always return Finland and nobody suffers. So, but now this 3 months is is going on all the time. So I'm still 3 months in St. Petersburg. So how many years it comes? 23, 24, I think so. I have been all the time in St. Petersburg. There was some, during pandemic year, I was in Finland, and now I have been 2 months because the situation in Ukraine. But in fact, the border is not closed for Finns, so I can still fly to St. Petersburg. But there's no flights except Turkey, so I can fly from Turkey or Egypt or some exotic countries, Israel and so on. We are still some Finnish people working in Ingeri church. Others have left. So the Finnish pastor is still working in St. Mary, and there are some missionaries in Far East in Ulan-Ude working. But I think you wanted to ask more about my work, what I'm doing there. So there was the system that there was bishop secretary and secretary for foreign relations, and there was another lady who was taking care about bishops things, his business. But then Birgitta left to Finland, and I just woke up in one morning that I have both of the posts on in my hands. But there is a Russian secretary who took care about bishops, this Russian correspondence and his visiting and so on. And now I have been waiting for a long time that then I get rid of this bishop secretary, and then card is big, so I waited 20 years, and now there is Yelena Novichkova, a Russian lady, who is taking care about this bishop secretary, his calendar and so on. I'm very thankful for the card, because then I can concentrate this international business, not business, the church relations. And that's why I'm in Tallinn, because as you know, the mountain cannot come to Moses, so Moses has to come to the mountain. And tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, we have a meeting between Estonian church, the Ingeri church, and also the meeting with the Finnish church and the Ingeri church. And there's also one meeting with the Finnish church and the Ingeri church. And yesterday I got a message, it was during the night, from Mrs. Yelena Novichkova from St. Petersburg. What's the timetable? And I said, just call down, everything will be okay. So it's quite flexible work, and I don't usually travel so much. So I'm in St. Petersburg because somebody has to be there also while the others are traveling. So but now, because of this special time, I have been traveling quite much in Finland, and now I'm here in Estonia, and I have to go also to Germany to meet some partner churches and the representatives of the partner organizations. So I'm happy to be in Estonia, really.
We are very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Because, and we can actually ask the second question.
Yes.
Isn't it so? And the second question, well, actually, I wanted to ask you while you were talking, how big is the mountain that has to go to the Muhammad, so to say?
Yeah, Ingeri church has now about 80 congregations. Maybe 90 also, but it's how do you count, because we count in a little bit different ways there. But if you say 80 congregations and 20 chapels, is it okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it comes about 100, but most of them are quite small, and the very big ones, or big ones as we in Russian think, are about 5 to 10 from this amount. Mm-hmm. The members, I think you want to know how many members. That's also the problem to count, because in Russian Federation there is a law that a person can be the member of congregation only when he or she is 18 years old. So, and we teach and we believe in our Lutheran churches that a person is a member when he or she is baptized. So we count all the baptized in Finland. I don't know how do it in Sweden, by the way, but in Finland we count all the baptized persons. And in Russia we have to make like two statistics: those who are baptized and are children, and those who are baptized and are adults. But if I count all together, I will get something like 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
And if I took only the adults, I think I get 10,000 members.
Okay, it's a big amount of people. Actually.
Yeah, but the Russia is also big.
It is.
So we are not so big in Russia, but we are very effective, and through our work, I think we just can reach quite many people, because, for example, in St. Mary Church in the middle of St. Petersburg, we have very big organs, baroque organs. So it's full of people all the time for the concerts, because St. Petersburg is a city of culture. So we reach quite much. And now, for example, this St. Anne Church, which is also in St. Petersburg, but it's about maybe 2 metro stations from St. Mary Church. So, for example, they have the courses of basic Christianity, or the basic Christianity courses, which is not the confirmation school, but it's people just can come and they don't have to sign down any papers. They don't just come. You want to know what is Christian and what is Lutheran church and so on, and confession, and so something like 200 people come there. Of course, they are not all just that they will start to be the 100% members in the church, but anyway, it's a big amount.
Yes, it is. And now we can move on to this subject that we were actually very interested in, and this is we'd like to ask you about the reforms that your church has been going through during the last maybe 30 years or something. And this is just a little 30 years, and the results of those reforms. So you can start. The floor is all yours.
Okay, so of course during this old times it was very the church was like Finland and Sweden or in Estonia, pastor orientated. So the dean said it's like that and so on, very classical. And then during the Soviet Union, it was the church was there was not so many pastors, and of course the education was not so high level, of course. But so it came very layman church that time. They didn't have any other choice, I think so. Only I think it was in the end of 1970s, Arvo Survo came to study here in Estonian Theological Institute, and he was then the first educated pastor after, I think, 50 years or more. And then when Arvo came to be the head pastor in Pushkin, he took plenty of young people to the church, and then the church life changed a little bit. There came gospel singing and guitars and things like that. Of course, then there's a young pastor, I mean, and it was not anymore so much the church of grandmothers. And from those young ones, which were in the group of Arvo Survo in 1970s, 1980s, became also our first national bishop, Bishop Aare Kuukauppi. So, and also some other very active persons in the church. And so we could build in Gorbachev times the church to, I mean, we could build the structure of the church quite easily, because there were some serious church-orientated people, and most of them knew Finnish language also, which helped, of course, with the connection of Finland and the Finnish church. But now we can live the history there and think about the last years, which are more interesting, I think so. Bishop Kuukauppi retired, I think 3 years ago. In 2019, there came a new bishop who has also some Ingerian, how do you say, roots, or how do you say in English, but he's Russian speaking, Ivan Laptev. And while he's young, he's ready to make more bigger reforms than the old bishop. and he has made more, I think 2 more those deaneries are now southern and northern, and he wants to strengthen the missionary work inside Russia, because in Finland the people came to church, or they usually are baptized when they are babies, and so on and so on. But in Russian it's not like that always. And of course plenty of Finnish people, Ingerian people, they have moved to Finland, and now the language of the church is more and more Russian. So it is Russian church more. Then I came, it was more pietistic, I think. It was more Finnish orientated, and now they are finding and they are seeking their own theology in a way. What is it to be a Russian Lutheran today's Russia? Not in somewhere far villages somewhere, but in the big cities where people are living, and how we can answer to their questions, and what is our theology today. Of course we have this old pietistic movement, and we still have the möte, what is that in English, samlungen, prayer meetings we have, and laymen preaching, and so the church is multi in this way. But we have to find a way how we will speak for the modern people in modern Russian society in the big cities, because there that will be the where we will just see the future of the church. Of course it's important in the villages and so on, but the villages are coming smaller and smaller. That's, I mean, all over the world. It's nothing. But we have also find interesting to work with the people who are living during the summertime in the villages, and they are coming to our churches, and that's nice. And they are bringing their children and so on, because I think nothing to do in the villages, so the children are coming during the summer to the camps and so on. And the newest thing which we have done is that we have built organization of the pilgrim tours. The name is, if I remember it right, it is New Land. Because during the pandemic the borders were closed absolutely. Now some borders are open in Russia, but then everything was closed, and the people started to travel inside Russia. And we have plenty of historical places in Karelia, and also around St. Petersburg, historical churches, and we also know we have people who know history very well. I mean, there is a pastor who is almost doctor of history, and so on. And so we thought, okay, it's our turn now, and we are organizing some excursions to the old Karelia and to the Ingeri, for families, for students, for school children, for elderly people. So, and let's see how it is going, because it's very interesting, because we can tell about our history, we can tell our church, we can tell what is it to be Lutheran, and we can even make some money. Yeah. Because the people are buying the excursion, and then they have coffee or tea or whatever in the congregations. And let's see how it is going. To make money, it sounds a little not so, maybe not so Christian, but our church, we cannot collect taxes. We can collect only the membership fees. So like the free churches, for example, in Sweden and in Finland. So we don't have that right. So we have to find out something always. So the concerts and the music life is good. And also this, let's see what happens with the Pilgrim Centrum. Okay. And we of course have the Theological Institute in Kelto, that's Koltushi in Russia, about 20 kilometers from St. Petersburg, and you can stay overnight there and so on. But now when there are no any Finnish groups, so not so much people there, but some Russian groups are taking care about this. So for example, Russian schools can organize how to say camps in Kelto, because it's peaceful, it's clean, and there are some children can have some sport there and so on, and it's quite safe place. you can close the children there. They can run nowhere from there. Okay.
Very nice.
Something more.
Yes. Could you ask something?
So what would you describe as your biggest challenge as a church, and if you compare what you know about Estonian church and Latvian and Finnish and Swedish church, what would be the biggest differences?
The geography. It's quite hard, and now the situation when the 15 airports in the southern parts of Russia are closed, so we can't even organize people to come to St. Petersburg. Of course, they can come by the train or by the bus some days or weeks, but also during so-called normal times, this geography is a challenge. So, and it is so expensive, and how you can unite the church. This is the big question, because Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian, Finland, of course they are not so small either, but they are not like Russian Federation, and we have only one bishop. And somebody has to come to be in St. Petersburg also, and there are area deans, but they are also quite far away. No, except St. Petersburg area dean, of course. So how to make this connection? And just now, some days ago, our bishop invited all the pastors to Ruskeala. That's not far away from Vyborg, old Finnish city, or Swedish city, Patrick will say, of course. So, will correct me. So, they had pastors meeting there. So he collected all the pastors who could come there. And it sounds like make a camp for them, and they could. There's very interesting old marble. They're mining marble there, so they could just go there and have excursions and just to unite people. And of course, this time of history, this time which we are living, it's not easy, of course, because there are plenty of opinions and people come from different culture in a way to our church. Not all have Finnish road, not all have so, how do you say, so clear Lutheran theology. So this is also a challenge, and because of that, these pastors' meetings and our theological institute, they are very important in this. Of course, our new bishop has worked very much with social media, and it has helped during the pandemic. We didn't have any other possibility, and of course it saves money. You can have meetings, but it's not the same thing. I don't like so much Teams. It's so how do you say it, dry in a way.
It is, but it changes with time. And my question is that what will be the next 30 years for Ingerian Lutheran Church in Russian Federation? Like, what do you think?
They have to, of course, take seriously the young people. And tradition is important, but they have to work to find, like I said before, what is it to be a Russian Lutheran in the modern Russian society, in the big city. And of course, I see it so that the church is coming more and more Russian. But what is the point is, what is the Russian Lutheran theology? That's my favorite question, and I'm wondering how it is, and how are the connections between the society. You know, the time in Russia is not so easy now, and also it's not easy for anybody there now, and how there's relations between the European and American partner churches will just develop. So quite much things, but I just came from Oulu, a city in Finland, and we had their church days and plenty of discussions about Russia, Ukraine, and relations between churches and societies and so on. And it was very important and very interesting that the bishops, Finnish bishops who were there, and the church people, they all said, please remember to keep these relationships with the Russian churches. I mean, with the Ingerian church. Please keep them. Don't just cut them because of the situation. And it was very, very good message to people there.
Yeah. Let's hope for the best. And we are very, very happy that you came to visit us. And
yeah,
and
but that's
we were
also
able to
because
ask.
of the situation, because the Ingerian bishop couldn't come to Finland.
Oh, that's the
So-
situation. So this was Miss Merja Kramsu, Secretary in Foreign Relations in the Ingeri Lutheran Church in Russian Federation. Thank you very much from
Thank
me
you.
and Patrick Göransson, and we hope to meet you again
In
very
St.
soon.
Petersburg, but then you will get some tea. there, not
Obviously,
coffee.
obviously, and we hope that the war is over then. Thank you.
Okay.